Paul Thomas of Seneca Lake Wine Trail. With me today, David DeMarco, owner of Seneca Shore Wine Cellars. Welcome, David.
Hello.
Thanks
Hello,
for having
Paul.
us. Thank you for wearing your garb.
Well, medieval theme. You can pet the magic fur after we're done.
After we're done. I
Yes,
can't pet the
after
fur
we're
now.
done, no.
Okay. So, first off, if you would, just tell the viewers a little bit, give them a nice little overview of Seneca Shore.
Well, Seneca Shore Wine Cellars is a 50-acre vineyard on beautiful Seneca Lake on the northwest corner. Some people also call this the Banana Belt. I think the Banana Belt goes right around the edge of the lake. The vineyards were planted beginning in the late 70s. I came up here from New York City in 93 after the first World Trade Center bombing. If you haven't heard that story, it's kind of interesting. They put a truck bomb in there and blew it up, and I was working a block and a half from there and smoke and decided to leave the city behind. So a small little classified ad, because they didn't have the internet back in those days, classified ads, and found this vineyard planted mostly to Chardonnay. And we've extended it up to 50 acres. We have vinifera, Cabernet Sauvignon, Pinot Noir, 16 Riesling, of course, 16 different varieties of vinifera grapes, and opened the winery in 1999. So we've been here quite a long time.
So, the garb that I will get to pet after the fact. Tell us about the medieval theme that you work with here at Seneca Shore Wine Cellars.
Well, as part of being in the city, one is always interested in what's not in the city. And going back to medieval times, reading some information about that, I found out that we actually don't make wine that much differently than they did back in the medieval times. If you go into the tasting room there, we have some tapestries that show how wine was made. And I can point to one piece where they have trees growing up, where they've hacked off the lower branches and they've let the vines grow up the trees, and for a trellising system. And the only thing different is we put wires across that and we hack off the top, and that's a vineyard post. I mean, that's 3,000 years of progress in grape growing. There are lots of other things that made me think that in this day and age of the internet, computers, and new and improved laundry detergent, that some things have not changed, and making wine at Seneca Shore Wine Cellars is one of them. I mean, we have stainless steel tanks, and we sterilize bottling lines and all that kind of stuff. But they did some very similar things. They used glass line tanks or ceramic line tanks in the medieval days, and that was just as good as stainless steel tank is now. Actually, there's a movement in France and in California to make wine in ceramic, or they call them concrete tanks. And the wine breathes better, it ages better, it's more complex. So it's the height of cool winemaking in Europe to have one of these concrete eggs or cement tanks.
It sounds like it'd be more affordable maybe too, and that stainless is darn expensive. As I recall.
Yeah, but
not so much.
No, not so much. There's this is very special, you know, and this concrete is very important, and we need to charge you twice what your neighbor can afford, right, stainless steel. So we figured we would try and do a winery theme that shows that, you know, the king of the castle would grow his grapes, and he knew all the peasants and serfs that were working the fields, and at harvest he'd be out there watching them bring it into his castle cellar, and that's where the wine would be until he sent his wine steward down to get a flagon of wine from the barrels and bring it up to drink. And that's the same thing. We harvest our grapes, we bring them into the cellar, we know exactly where that wine has been until the tasting room. We open it for our guests, and they pour it and take it home. So it's not like it's traveled across the country or halfway around the world. It's gone through, I once counted, the wine from Australia goes through almost 20, maybe 15 to 20 different hands, different people, different transportation methods, different cargo containers. It's amazing, and any one of those 15 to 20 different people can damage the wine because they don't really care about it, because it's just a commodity to them. So here, that's not the case. It's just one person, one entity, Seneca Shore Wine Cellars, has had that wine, and it's true of many Seneca Lake wineries. So, but I think it's important that people realize how much, you know, back to nature, back to organics, back to sustainability, the Seneca Lake Wine Trail in particular has been doing for 20, 30 years.
More importantly, I can call Sean a peasant? I'm kidding.
Let's just say our employees enjoy what they do, okay? They're happy. They're happy.
Excellently put. All right. Next up, we've got a lot of different wines here at Seneca Shore Wine Cellars.
Yes, because we were experimenting with what grew well, what grapes grow well, and what grapes didn't, we planted 16 different varieties, mostly vinifera, from Riesling, dry Riesling, semi-dry Riesling, sweet Riesling, to 4 different kinds of Chardonnay, Cabernet Sauvignon, Pinot Noir. The list goes on, let's just say. But our thought is that when people make the effort to come off the highway and come down to Seneca Shores, that there's a wine there that they're interested in, that they like. So when they come in, they taste 5 wines. We have over 6 dry whites. We have 6 semi-dry whites. We have 7, 8, 9, 10 sweeter wines. So people can always find more than enough to taste that's in the category that they enjoy. And I think that's very important, because when I used to come up to the Finger Lakes and taste around, come into a tasting room and, we have 4 wines to try today, and I'm sorry, you only like one of those? Well, then that's the one that you'll try. And that wasn't much fun for me.
Sure.
So I thought that people really needed more of a reason to get off the highway, and that was to offer them
A very wide variety.
yes.
And into the future, what do we hold the future hold for Seneca Shore?
Into the future, I really enjoy. I was a physics and math double major, and then minored in computer science. So I am very much interested
Agent Swirlies. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Well, fractals are these wonderful things that make beautiful art. But we digress.
We do digress.
Okay, later at the bar.
My lord.
So it turns out now that energy is rather expensive, and energy is destroying the way we live. I mean, we're burning old dinosaurs and polluting our environment because of it. So really, energy sufficiency is right up the alley of a physicist, and so I've been getting into all these alternative forms of energy and wind and solar, and right now actually we heat the whole winery complex with wood that we get from our own property. And we haven't cut down any live trees yet. These are all dead trees that have, over the years, over the decades, have fallen over and not yet rotted. I mean, either we burn them or the termites turn them into the same gases. So it's better that we extract the heat rather than that heat just going up into the atmosphere anyway. So we saved over $5,000 a year now, each year, of propane, rather than heating and...
That's huge.
Well, it is for us.
Yeah.
I mean...
That's real money.
Yeah, that's real money. That's real money that doesn't go to the propane companies, and it goes out of the region. Whereas we do spend some money to gather the firewood, but that keeps our vineyard labor employed throughout the winter. So we are recycling those dollars back into the community rather than off into some big corporation somewhere that sells propane. So.
And as I recall, you are able then also to be able to use superheated water to do a lot of your cleaning, which maybe you would have had to use chemicals, or some might have used chemicals in the past.
Yeah, because the wood is almost free.
Yeah.
We use a lot more hot water than we used to. Back when it was propane, we basically cleaned the tanks with cold water or warm water, and hot water was something very expensive. But now we use hot water all the time, all year round. Yes, it's a wonderful thing. We sterilize the bottling line with hot water rather than pay electric bills to generate steam or some of these other fancy things. And we don't really use any chemicals at all other than washing soda is kind of like a baking soda kind of thing, but a really stronger version of it, and that cleans out the tanks, and it's a lot more healthy than chlorine. We don't use any chlorine.
Excellent.
In the wineries. So
Anything else you want to add?
I think it's a lovely day, and everyone should come take a vacation.
Excellent. Thank you for your time, David DeMarco.
Thank you, Paul Thomas of Seneca Lake Wine Trade.